Gimenez, the Republican Florida congressman, sits on the House Homeland Security Committee, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Congressman, first off, what do you hear and see from your folks back home? Obviously, this hurricane, quite properly, should be their front and center attention. What's the latest?
Well, that is we're all battening down, and especially the area of Tampa, Fort Myers. They're the ones that really, right now, seem to be in the crosshairs. And it's really, it's really critical of where that the center of the storm actually crosses. If it crosses south of Tampa, it's good news for Tampa, even though they're going to get really strong winds and all. But they're not going to get the devastating storm surge that we fear for the Tampa area. But then again, that means Fort Myers may be, the place where the storm surge really comes in. It all really depends where that storm is going to come in. It's also going to linger, apparently, in the middle of the state, and it's dumping right now massive amounts of rain here in Miami-Dade County, and we're pretty far away from the storm. And so it's a question of when, it's a question of the storm surge, which is the biggest killer, and then how long is it going to, linger over the state, dumping, tons of water on us. And so, we're hoping for the best, but we're also prepared for the worst.
That's a good policy to have there. As a former Miami-Dade County mayor yourself, you're probably aware that the county, like Palm Beach County and Broward County, are shutting down schools tomorrow out of an abundance of caution. I'm sure you agree with that. But there are a lot of people in your state, Congress, probably in your district as well, they haven't seen anything like this, particularly the millions who have moved to Florida over the last few years, and maybe a lot of Floridians themselves who haven't had to deal with something like this since, 2017. Are you worried that maybe they're a bit too complacent, or could be?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I mean, time will tell. We put out, the governor does a very good job, and the state does a very good job warning people of exactly what they need to do, how to get prepared. You're going to need at least 3 days of food, water, medicines, all that. Be self-sufficient for at least 3 days. And that if you're in the path, especially if you're in the path of a storm surge, you need to evacuate. And so we put that message out loud and clear to everybody that lives here. Hopefully they'll listen to their neighbors that have been, are veterans of hurricanes, and do what they do. Florida is, the best prepared state in the nation for hurricanes because we get them. That's the price of living in paradise. But again, those northerners and everybody else that's fleeing the blue states come down to the free red state. Yeah, they need to heed the warnings and do what their government officials are telling them to do.
While I have you, Congressman, and you're kind enough, this crazy day when you have a lot on your plate, but the market's selling off again. It's down more than 200 points. The president often likes to boast he doesn't focus on the stock market. That's a not so veiled shot at his predecessor, who spoke about the markets every day. But I'm wondering what you think of that. Should a president be looking at the markets? The typical argument you hear from the White House, and others have expressed this in the past, that it isn't really Main Street, it's Wall Street. What do you say?
Well, no, it is Main Street. I mean, so many pension systems are tied to the market, and individual savings are tied to the market, 401ks, et cetera. So that's the creation of wealth. And so for a president to say that, gee, I really don't care about the stock market, especially since the stock market has lost, I don't know what, trillions of dollars in value for real people here in the United States, I think that that's kind of cold. And really not tied to the reality of how people are retiring nowadays. Look, you can't really retire on Social Security, so you got a lot of people, probably a majority of people have other ways how they're going to be saving up for their retirement, and the stock market is a huge part of that. So yeah, you should focus in on the stock market. And by the way, the better America does, the better the stock market does. And so if you're not focused in on the stock market, it means you're not really focusing in on how well America is doing.
Well, you're quite right about that. A lot of pension funds for teachers, firefighters, policemen, they closely follow the markets, so it's in their interest to do so. Yeah. Sir, thank you very much. Best of luck back home.